In the peaceful, picture-perfect community of Pinehurst, USA, life unfolded as it always did, in a suburban dream. Picket fences lined the streets, and the scent of freshly cut grass hung in the air. Children's laughter echoed as they played outside, and neighbors exchanged casual greetings while taking walks with their dogs. The whole town seemed like a place where nothing bad could ever happen. At least, that's what everyone thought. At the center of this idyllic world was the Martin family. They were the epitome of success, the kind of family that anyone would look at and envy. David Martin, 42, had built a prosperous career in real estate. He was well respected in his field, admired for his drive, intelligence, and professional charm. His wife, Claire, 39, was everything you could imagine a perfect suburban mother to be. She had traded a promising career for motherhood, dedicating herself to raising their two children, Emily and Jack. She was always involved in school functions, charity events, and volunteering at the local food pantry. Together, David and Claire were seen as a golden couple, the type of family everyone in Pinehurst aspired to be. Their house was a large, elegant home with a front porch that overlooked the manicured lawn, and their lifestyle seemed flawless. But beneath the surface of this perfect exterior, there were cracks, hidden fractures that no one could see. David's career had consumed much of his time over the years. As his success grew, so did the demands of his job. He spent more and more time traveling for work, attending meetings, and making deals that seemed to keep him away from home. Claire, while deeply committed to her role as a wife and mother, began to feel the distance between them. Though they still shared a home, the emotional connection that had once defined their marriage slowly began to fade. David's increasing detachment left Claire feeling isolated and disconnected, and with this growing loneliness came a creeping sense of fear. She had given up so much for her family, her career, her independence, and much of her own identity. But now, she found herself wondering if she had made the right choices. At times, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. The turning point came at a charity event in Pinehurst, where David first met Emma Walsh, a 28-year-old kindergarten teacher who had recently moved to the town with her 5-year-old son, Noah. Emma was recovering from a painful divorce and was hoping for a fresh start. A warm, approachable woman, Emma had quickly become well-liked by her colleagues and the parents of her students. She was devoted to her son, and her life revolved around giving him a better future after her marriage fell apart. David and Emma's initial interaction was innocent enough. A brief conversation during the event, nothing that stood out at the time. But for David, something about Emma captivated him. She represented everything that Claire wasn't: youthful, warm, and free from the emotional baggage that seemed to weigh down David's relationship with his wife. Over the weeks that followed, their paths crossed more frequently, at school events, casual get-togethers, and even coffee shop encounters. What started as casual conversation quickly developed into something much more intimate. Emma, for her part, wasn't actively looking for a relationship. She had endured enough heartache already, but David seemed to provide her with something she hadn't realized she was missing: a connection that was not only emotional, but deeply physical as well. Soon, they were meeting secretly, carving out stolen moments when they could. It started with something small. One afternoon, as Emma prepared for a school event, David offered to help her with some supplies. In the shade of a large oak tree in the park, they shared a conversation that seemed to blur the line between friendship and something more. Emma spoke about the struggles of being a single mother, and David opened up about the distance he felt from Claire. Both of them, in that moment, realized they shared a sense of isolation, though for different reasons. The emotional connection between them deepened. What followed next was a kiss that neither of them had planned, but one that would change everything. It was electric, a spark that set off a chain of events neither of them could have anticipated. The affair, initially innocent in their minds, became a dangerous secret. They started meeting in hidden corners of Pinehurst, in faraway hotel rooms, or sometimes at Emma's house when her son wasn't around. The guilt began to weigh on them both, but it was also an escape, a way out of their personal pain. For David, it was a distraction from his troubled marriage. For Emma, it was a way to feel desired and important again after years of emotional neglect. But as the affair continued, the situation grew more complicated. At home, Claire could feel the tension. She had always been in tune with David's behavior, and his increasing absences and emotional distance were becoming impossible to ignore. She started noticing small but unmistakable signs: the late nights, the hushed conversations, the way David's phone was constantly buzzing with messages. Claire didn't need to know the details. Her gut told her that something wasn't right. By July of 2021, Claire's suspicions had escalated. She knew David was hiding something. But what? She couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something far more significant than just work pressures. One Sunday morning, as David was preparing to leave for what he claimed was a meeting with a client, Claire decided to take matters into her own hands. She followed him, keeping a careful distance as he drove through the quiet streets of Pinehurst. David had no idea she was trailing him, completely unaware that his wife was about to uncover the truth. When David turned into Emma's driveway, Claire's heart sank. She sat in her car, staring at the house, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. The betrayal was now undeniable. Claire had suspected it, but seeing it with her own eyes shattered her. She had given everything for this family, her career, her dreams, her future. And now, David had betrayed her in the most painful way imaginable. Without thinking, Claire left her car and walked toward Emma's front door, a storm of emotions swirling inside her. Her heart raced with anger, humiliation, and heartbreak as she approached. She knew what she was about to do, and though part of her hoped she would stop, she couldn't. Claire pushed open the door, and what she saw inside made her blood run cold. There, sitting together on the couch, were David and Emma, laughing, completely unaware of the devastation unfolding just steps away. Claire's emotions boiled over. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Without a word, she lunged at David, and in that moment, everything, years of neglect, years of pain, came crashing down. In a blind fit of rage, she grabbed the nearest object, an ornate vase from the coffee table, and began to strike David repeatedly. Each blow landed with a sickening thud, the sound echoing through the room as Emma screamed in horror. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911, but it was too late. David lay motionless on the floor, blood staining the carpet beneath him. The peaceful town of Pinehurst was plunged into chaos. The Martins' once perfect life was shattered in an instant. News of the murder spread like wildfire, and the small town was left reeling from the unimaginable tragedy. Claire was arrested at the scene, and the trial that followed would captivate the nation. The defense argued that Claire had acted in a temporary state of insanity, driven to madness by years of emotional neglect, betrayal, and isolation. They painted her as a woman who had snapped under the weight of her husband's infidelity, a woman pushed to her breaking point by the emotional abandonment she had suffered. But the prosecution took a different view. They argued that Claire had planned the attack, driven not just by anger, but by cold, calculated revenge. The trial was intense, with emotional testimony from both sides, and as Claire took the stand, she revealed the deep emotional scars that had been left by her marriage. She spoke of her sacrifices, her loneliness, and how David's affair had shattered her sense of self. She didn't just lose her husband that day. She felt as though she had lost everything. Her story was heartbreaking, and the jury was faced with a difficult decision. Was Claire a victim of her circumstances, pushed to a breaking point? Or had she premeditated the act in a cold, calculated moment of violence? In the end, the jury found Claire guilty. The courtroom was filled with tension as the verdict was read, and the town of Pinehurst was left to pick up the pieces of a tragedy that had torn apart a family and a community. The consequences of the affair were far-reaching, and the lives of everyone involved would never be the same. For Claire, the trial was just the beginning of her punishment. For Emma, the pain of being involved in such a devastating act would haunt her forever. And for David's children, the ripple effects of their father's betrayal would shape their lives in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. In the wake of this tragic event, Pinehurst would never be the same. The once quiet suburban town would always carry the weight of the murder that shook it to its core. The perfect family, the perfect life, all of it was destroyed in the blink of an eye. As you reflect on this story, we want to know: do you believe Claire was justified in her actions, driven by years of pain and betrayal? Or was her reaction a premeditated act of violence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story has left you thinking about the complexities of human emotion and the consequences of betrayal, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. We share new true crime stories each week, diving deep into the darkest corners of human nature. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the most shocking crimes come from the most unsuspecting places. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with another captivating and tragic tale.